I'm Douglas Adam with Kryton International in Vancouver, BC, and today we're going to go over the Crystal leak repair system. The products we will go over today are Crystal Plug, Crystal Repair Grout, and our Crystal T1. These are all cementitious products. They turn caustic on contact with water, so we're going to wear our glasses, gloves, and work with a mask on. Using this training piece, we will demonstrate the three-step process for repairing leaks and cracks in concrete, using a chase 1 inch wide and 1.5 inches deep, chiseled out with a jackhammer. Using a 1 inch wide flat-bladed chisel, we will chisel our chase 1 inch wide and 1.5 inches deep to accept Crystal Plug and Crystal Repair Grout. The first product to be installed is our Crystal Plug, a fast-setting hydraulic cement used only to stop actively flowing leaks. Using a mix ratio of 4 parts powder to 1 part water, we loosely scoop our product and strike it flat. Do not pack it in. When preparing Crystal Plug, it is important not to stir. This will form a layer of mud around the outside of the bucket, and you won't have enough water left for your product to hydrate. Instead, if you tip the bucket, keep all the product on one side, and mix in as small an area as possible, you'll have a better chance of success. When we add our water, we will now mix our product and spread it over as small an area as possible. When preparing Crystal Plug, you should have about 20 to 30 seconds working it in the pail, followed by about 20-30 seconds in your hands to get it into a nice workable putty. You should have enough time to work your product into a soft, malleable putty, and enough time to get this in place before it hardens. With Crystal Plug, it is important to work quickly, as it will set fast, and this is how you stop your leak. Alternatively, some applicators prefer to skip the trowel and simply mix the product in the bucket with their gloved hand. We'll still use the same procedure and spread our product over as small an area as possible. Again, we need to work quickly. We have about a minute or so to work with this before it begins to set on us. On a hot day, it might be necessary to use cold water to extend that time. On a cold day, it might be necessary to use hot water to get the product to set. With our chase prepared and our leak actively flowing, we're now ready to install Crystal Plug. You can install from the top down or the bottom up, depending on your preference. We recommend working top down and forcing the water out of your way. With our leak actively flowing, we will now place our Crystal Plug inside the chase and hold it in place until it sets hard. A little trick for the applicator is to keep an extra piece of plug in your hand. This will give you an indication when the plug in the chase has set off and you can release your pressure. With our leak now stopped, we need to remove the excess plug from the chase by cleaning the sides and flattening down the top to make room for our repair grout. This can be done with a trowel or a wire brush. As you can see, we've nearly removed all of our excess plug. The sides of the chase are exposed where the repair grout can bond and the self-sealing action can take place. With our leak stopped, we're now ready to move on to Crystal Repair Grout. First, we have to repair the surface in the chase. We need it clean and its saturated surface dry or SSD condition. First off, we remove the excess plug to clean the chase. Next, we need to reach SSD condition. A nice little trick for that. Insert a soaking sponge into your chase and allow the concrete time to soak while you prepare your grout. With our leak stopped, we're now ready to install Crystal Repair Grout. Crystal repair grout has a working time between 20 and 30 minutes, so you don't need to work as quickly as you did with plug, but you don't want to mix any more than you can install in that time. Preparation of the grout can be accelerated with a paddle on a drill. We can vary the mix ratio depending on the consistency desired by the applicator. We're going to start at 4 parts powder to 1 part water and see how that looks. At a ratio of 4 parts powder to 1 part water, you get a very wet, sticky mix. It sticks all over your gloves, and it will not stay in place vertically. Let's try 4.5 to 1 and see how that looks. At 4.5 parts powder to 1 part water, we get a more dry or putty consistency. It's got enough body it can stand up under its own weight, but it's still moist and smooth enough that we can trowel a nice, beautiful finish out of it. At a ratio of 5 parts powder to 1 part water, you get a fairly stiff dry mix, which would be great for overhead applications where you don't want your grout to slough. The product is still fairly firm, but it's still moist enough that we can trowel a nice smooth finish out of it if needed. With our grout prepared, it's time to go back to our chase and get our surface ready for installation. Our concrete has had sufficient time to soak, but now we want to reach that SSD, saturated surface dry condition. We need to remove any excess water from the chase that would dilute the grout we're going to install. With our chase at SSD condition, it's now time to install our grout. It's important to pack it tight in the bottom, not leaving any voids, while bringing the product up and flush with the surface. When filling your chase, it is recommended to try and avoid the feather edge on the side, as this grout will likely become brittle and crack later down the road. In the event of repairs greater than 50 mm by 50 mm, 2 inches by 2 inches, or about the size of your fist, we recommend adding a gravel extender to increase the volume of the grout with less likelihood of shrinkage cracking. With the addition of the gravel extender, we now have that as an integral part of our grout mix. As you can see, we still have our nice putty consistency, enough volume to stand up under its own weight, and yet we can still trowel a nice smooth finish. With our grout installed in the chase, it's now time to move on to the optional but highly recommended coat of Crystal T1. If you will be applying T1, we recommend waiting 3 to 4 hours for the grout to stand before moistening for T1 application. If T1 will not be used, we recommend covering the grout with poly or a tarp to help maintain the moisture levels for the first 24 hours. With our surface at SSD condition, we're now ready to receive the T1. It's not required, but it certainly won't do any harm if you want to rough up your grout just a little bit to help the T1 bond. With our product mixed at 3.5 parts powder to 1 part water, we will then apply over our repair. For further details on T1 preparation and application, please refer to our T1 video. It is recommended to apply the T1 several inches on each side of the repair, as an additional barrier, but also to treat any micro damage to the concrete surrounding the chase. With this point at our T1 applied, we now recommend covering with poly or a tarp to help maintain moisture levels. Following the first day with poly or a tarp, you can come back and gently mist the surface for a wet cure, help the product hydrate and gain full strength. And here we have our 3-step leak repair process.